Hello YouTube, Canadian Edge here, and we are going to do a knife review. And the knife with us today, it is from Rough Ryder. It is the Rough Ryder RR2083. And this knife has a blade length of 3.25 inches. Open it is 7.88 inches, and closed it is 4.63 inches. The steel on this, it is a T10 carbon stainless steel, so easy to sharpen, and it should have good corrosion resistance. So yeah, if you like an easy to sharpen knife, this might interest you. The weight on it, it is a 4.16 ounces, so a little heavier knife. And the handle, it is a G10 with a carbon fiber onlay. So that sits on top. And I don't know if you can see that. Not really. But it does sit on top of the G10. The pocket clip on this, it is right hand only, tip up, and not quite a deep carry. You do have a little bit of the knife sticking out. So yeah, not necessarily a deep carry. But it is right hand. Sorry, lefties, doesn't switch over. Right hand tip up. Opening, you have your choice of flipper or thumb hole. So you can flip, you can flick it with the thumb hole, or you can do the reverse flick on it. And gives you a couple ways to open the knife. The pivot, it does have ball bearings in it to make it a little smoother, although it's still breaking in. I haven't used this knife a whole lot, so the pivot is still slightly stiff. It is a liner lock on there, and works pretty smooth. And you have the open spine, and yeah, no jimping and not much else on there. But it is an interesting little knife. I believe this one cost me like $19 here in Canada. So not an expensive knife, and it seems like not too bad a knife. You can see that it is fairly well centered and fairly thick blade stock on there too. So sits in the center, and there's no blade play. Left or right, up or down, sits nice and solid in there. So for 20 bucks Canadian, that's not too bad. All right, let's take a look at size comparisons. So we've got the Ontario Rat 2, and it is slightly bigger than that. Got the Benchmade Bug Out, and again, it is slightly bigger. Grab a couple other ones here, just so you can see. We do have the Civivi Cogent, and they're pretty close. The Cogent's slightly bigger, and the Sencut Saxi, and they're pretty close to the same size. So it's a decent sized knife. It's got some good size to it, some good weight to it. How about sharpness? Let's see what kind of sharpness it comes with. Now, I have used this a couple times, but still nice and sharp. You can see it cuts the paper quite easily. And we'll get out these guys here. A good old zip tie. My favorite. I don't know about yours. Not really my favorite, being facetious. And sorry, get that in where people can see it. And it cuts through that relatively easy. And also through the cord quite easily, and through the twine. Whoops, that was my bad. I let it slip in my fingers. Didn't hang on to it properly, but I think it'll cut this. Oh yeah. It cuts that quite easily. So Yeah, this is from Rough Ryder. If you're familiar with Rough Ryder knives, I wasn't too familiar with them until not too long ago. I started to purchase a couple of them because I liked the way they looked, and they were $20. So I mean, how can you go wrong? Even if it's a little cheaper knife, $20 isn't too bad. So this one I had picked up. I like the aesthetics of it. It's got a nice blade profile. The handle looks good. I like the carbon fiber onlay, not inlay, onlay. It sits on top. And it just gives it a little interesting look. It's not necessarily wow, but it does have a decent look to it. The ergonomics on it, they're pretty good. It feels comfortable in the hand. Feels like you could work with it if you're camping or things like that, or even just working in the yard or in the garage. Good control, feels good, comfortable. The grip is pretty decent, although both of these are fairly smooth and slippery, but because the carbon fiber sits up a little bit, it does give you a little grip on there. And then just the way they've designed the handle, it gives you a little bit of grip as well. So it shouldn't slip too easily in your hands, but there is the potential for it to slip, considering that you got smooth, slippery products here. So yeah. And the pivot on it, I did mention it does have bearings in it. Probably the more it's used, it'll loosen up. It feels like a little bit of grit in there. If I took it apart and cleaned it, that would probably help too. But I put a little bit of pivot lube on it, and it opens fine. You can do the reverse flick. For me, that's great. If I can do that, that means that it's fairly easy to open. So I'm not going to worry about it because, yeah, this isn't a knife I'm going to spend a lot of time fine-tuning and whatnot. But as far as an inexpensive knife, I think it's a pretty decent buy. A couple of the things that I didn't really like on it was it's bulky in the pocket. You can see it sits fairly wide. You got a bit of a protrusion there with the flipper. It sticks out a fair bit, so you do notice it in your pocket. It has a bit of width to it, so not the end of the world. Just it is thin this way, so it's okay. It's just not as smooth as, or as nice fitting as some of the knives that I do carry. The fit and finish on it, now again, it's a $20 knife, so the fit and finish isn't necessarily as quality as, say, like the Benchmade, where everything is chamfered and rounded off and feels good in the hand. You feel the carbon fiber here. You feel the rough edge on the inside of the liners. You know, it just doesn't have the fit and finish, but again, it's $20. So $20, not a big deal, especially if you're just throwing this in a toolbox, throwing it in your car, you know, just a general usage. You don't really care. You're going to use and abuse this thing. The fit and finish isn't that big a deal. But I do see the carbon fiber, you know, being potentially knocked off at some point. If the screws loosen up a little bit or it catches on something, you could take that off. But fit and finish, it's fine. It doesn't necessarily feel like a really cheap knife like some of the knives that you buy for $20, but it again doesn't feel like necessarily a high quality knife. But they did round off some of the areas, still left a bit of an edge down here and that, but it's not sharp enough you'd cut yourself or anything. So enough said about fit and finish. And one of the things that I wasn't really happy about either is this pocket clip. Do not like it. It is a bulky pocket clip. You can see it sticks out here on the edge. It's got this little bill that sticks up. It just doesn't feel comfortable. You notice it in your hand. And wish they would have gone with a different pocket clip on it. But this is what you get, and it works as a pocket clip. Just, yeah, not an ideal pocket clip in my opinion. But 20 bucks. I'm not gonna cry over it. So yes, this is by Rough Ryder, and if you're just looking for an inexpensive knife that you want to use, you don't care if something happens to it, you lose it, or it gets broken or damaged or scuffed up, you might want to consider this knife. This is a decent knife. This would also be a good knife to give as a gift, or to give, you know, like to a child or a grandchild or something as a first knife, because if they damage it or lose it, it's not the end of the world. But it would also be a knife that they could actually use, and it would have function and be a useful knife. So, or just somebody who's, you know, looking for something for the camping gear, and you want to throw it in and have something available that you can use for your camping and different things like that. This might be something you want to look at. So yes, this is from Rough Ryder Knives. You can find them at different places online, and they've got a variety of knives that are within that price range, $20 to $30, and some of them are pretty decent looking knives. So check those out. Rough Ryder. This is the Rough Ryder RR2083. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. That's all we're going to do for a review on this knife. I do have other reviews and other unboxings coming up. Take a look at those. Take a look at the ones that are already posted. And we're going to do this again with some other knives. So until then, you stay safe and stay sharp.